All right, so what we're going to talk about now are some technical drawing conventions. And convention doesn't mean a bunch of people at a seminar. That's one word, one use of the word convention. We're talking about conventional practices or standard practices. So on technical drawings are, as you read, um, in the Unit 1 materials, technical drawings are a universal language. It doesn't really matter what language we speak, everyone understands drawings, and no matter where a set of drawings is made, uh, images speak to people regardless of whatever language they speak. So there are some agreed on standards that everyone who does technical drawings will use so that their drawings are easily understood. And that's what technical drawing conventions are. They're the standard practices that we use. So no matter who draws, we all know what everything means. If we saw a drawing and it had squiggles on it like this, well, what is this? Is this like an EKG readout at the hospital? See, these squiggles all actually mean something. And how about these circles and triangles? Well, what's the 4 and what's the A2? Right? A person that understands architectural drawings will know what these are and how they work. Um, how we represent certain things, like how do you represent cylindrical things uh, without drawing the entire piece? Well, there's this little conventional practice of showing it as if it was broken. And then even some of the things that we talked about with layers. Why do we have this line going through the middle of this thing here? Why is that necessary? What does the squiggly line mean? These look like kitchen cabinets. Why is there a squiggle there? What does that mean? And this is a multi-view drawing. It's a technical drawing. Uh, why are some of the lines dashed? And why are some of the lines center lines? What's going on? Why are there 3 pictures here? What is it significant, their location one to the other? Right, so technical drawing conventions have answers to all of these things. On this structural drawing here, well, why does this thing here have this dark, heavy, broken pattern around it? What does that mean? Right, and then what's this stuff out here? Looks like little triangles and dots. What does that mean? So there are some conventional practices that are followed by people who do technical drawing work, and in this unit of instruction you're going to get a chance to see some of that. Okay, I think it's important that you understand too that the technical drawing standards, drawing conventions, these are not things that I made up. These are not things that Mr. Rigby or any of the other industrial drawing teachers have made up. This is not a BC thing or something only in Bakersfield. These conventions and these standard practices have been developed by organizations that supervise and oversee different facets of engineering and engineering graphics. For example, ANSI is the American National Standards Institute. They have published multiple volumes, like dictionary sized volumes, of information for people working in technical fields. That includes making technical drawings. So the way the drawings are constructed, there's some real specific guidelines that need to be followed if we want to make our drawings ANSI compliant. ASME is the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Do you think that they might be a little concerned that everyone that's doing engineering work understands and can interpret the drawings that other engineers are making? Of course they are. Right? And ISO is the International Standards Organization. Basically everywhere in the world that uses metric will follow the standards and conventions that ISO has put out. So the information that we learn in industrial drawing, sometimes it seems really detail oriented, kind of tedious, really specific, um, kind of picky. I've had people say, you need to have OCD in order to do well in this class. And maybe that's true. Maybe you do need to be hyper attentive to small details to do well. But that's just part of the game. That's just part of the career. And it's not something that I make up or I make people do just to torture them. It's because these are the standards used in industry for producing engineering graphics and technical drawings. Now, part of understanding the standards and being able to interpret engineering drawings has to do with the alphabet. And I don't mean the alphabet of letters, I mean something called the alphabet of lines. See, the deal is this, letters make sounds, and sounds, when they are strung together, make words, right? And if we take a word and we switched out a few of the letters, well, that might give the word an entirely different meaning. Isn't that true? So now with the drawing, we're working with a picture, right? We're working with a picture. And if we change the kinds of lines we're drawing, if they're supposed to be hidden lines and we draw them with solid lines, or if they're supposed to be solid lines and we draw them with center lines, like here, see, that changes the meaning of the drawing. And that would be disastrous. Just like you couldn't understand a sentence if someone went in and just randomly switched letters around, you wouldn't be able to understand the drawing if someone went around and just haphazardly drew things without paying attention to the kinds of lines they were drawing. So the alphabet of lines just refers to the different kinds of lines that we see on technical drawings. And here that mentions 12 of them. We don't use all of these in the industrial drawing B12 class, but there are several that we'll encounter and work with. And some of them have the names of things that we saw in layers, right? Like there was a hidden line type in the layer manager. Well, take a look. Number 2 is a hidden line. Where are you? Oh yeah, it's that small dash, right? With a tiny gap in between. That was the pattern for those lines over in layers. How about center? We did one of those too, didn't we? It was a long and short, long and short. It was a repeating pattern of long and short dashes. And then maybe you messed around and you saw the phantom line, number 12. That's long, too short, right? So we want to understand that the way we draw the lines and how the views are put on the paper and how things are drawn will have an incorrect meaning if we don't lay them out according to the standards. So when we see a drawing like this, we might get overwhelmed pretty quickly because there's a lot of information on it. But by following the standard and conventional practices of technical drawing, it's very easy for someone with a little bit of experience to start interpreting this and maybe manufacturing it. So now if you'd be so good as to click on Start Drawing, and we made a brand new clean drawing file from scratch, we can talk about some of the standards that we'll be working with. Okay. And typically, to organize your drawing, you want to create your layers at the beginning of the drawing. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to draw everything and then when you're done make the layers and then start putting things on the correct layer. You really want to make the layers first and then draw elements on the correct layer while you're working. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to work with a template. So I want a standard AutoCAD file. Opens up, we take a look. It's got one layer in it called layer 0, and we learned in the last class we don't draw on layer 0 anymore because we are much better than that. We're going to make a layer. We're going to call that layer border. Okay, and the border layer is going to be red, color number 1. The border layer is going to be continuous line type, but it's going to be a heavy line because on a technical drawing the border should be the heaviest line on the paper. Alright, so that's a standard. I didn't make that up. Okay, standard practice. So we'll make a new layer. We'll call this one center. And that center line layer is going to be a yellow, number 2 for color. We're going to go load a line type, and the one we're going to load is called center 2. So check it out. There's center, which is the pattern we saw earlier. There's center 2, and what's the difference? Well, the pattern repeats more frequently. The dashes are smaller. And then there's center times 2, which the pattern is even bigger. So I need center 2 for the drawing that we're doing. And we'll set it. Alright, so center layer is yellow, center 2, and default. Awesome. We'll make another layer. We'll call it hidden. Hidden is going to be cyan. It's that light blue color. And hidden is going to be the hidden 2 line type. Hidden 2. Alright. Now drawings typically have text like your name, the date, the name of the project, right? So that should also be separate and on its own layer. So we're going to make a layer called text. We're going to make it magenta, which is that terrible purple color. And our last one is something called object lines. Now object lines are the edges of objects, and they're going to be white, they're going to be color 7, but they're going to be heavy, they're going to stand out. The edges of the object are kind of important, so we're going to make them 0.50 millimeters or half a millimeter. Okay, and then actually we're also going to make the hidden line slightly heavier. We're going to go down and find the 0.40 or 4/10 of a millimeter for the hidden lines. Alright, so here's our layers. Here's our colors, line types, and line weights associated with them. The information that I'm using to find all that is actually in your course pack. It's in the drawings we're going to be working on. Drawing 12 or page 12.9 has the instructions for the setup for the drawing, and the setup is going to be the same for all these drawings. They all have the same layers, the same color, the same line type, and the same line weight. Okay, and now if we set one of these as current, maybe like object lines, then we are ready to go. We are ready to draw.